There's not a word for not believing in fairies, you know? And if people didn't keep inventing these weird, impossible deities, we wouldn't have to go around denying them. They say things like, prove there isn't a God. Well, no, prove there isn't a unicorn. You can't prove the non-existence of something, and why would you? It's mental. Right. You don't need to. And there's other myth that what an atheist is. An atheist simply is someone who doesn't believe in a God. No, so, hold on. So if you murder an atheist, he goes to hell. He'll have to say sorry and you go to heaven. Yeah, it works out. That's not right, is it? I'm an atheist. I don't believe in about 2,700 gods. Christians don't believe in 2,699. Yes. So they're nearly as atheistic as me. Yes.
I've gone on sort of like the opposite journey in that I feel like I started off atheistic just the same way that I would reject any attempt to impose regulation or control on me for the purposes of domination. But like, as I've gone through my own stuff with addiction and mental health or whatever it is, and like I know that you're very that, for example, afterlife is about legitimate grief as opposed to some kind of abstract idea of mental illness brought about by hormonal or neurological balance. But myself, my own sense of despair, particularly looking at it from a perspective of mental health issues and addiction, is that there is an unaddressed yearning for a kind of oneness, togetherness, and like to your point earlier about Brent, indeed for love. And when you talk about that sense of awe of the appreciation of an animal, the love of an animal, and the sort of regard and gratitude for having an animal love you and care for you, or the beauty of nature, or the deep beauty of the cosmos, what I feel like, and my own appreciation, understanding, stroke belief in God is that there is a kind of, in the love of it, in the awareness of rightness itself, there is an indication that there is such a thing as rightness. Not that any one particular group or ideology has unique, particular and special access to it, and I really firmly, deeply believe that spirituality is for me, not for me to tell other people, boy, I don't reckon you should be gay, or I don't reckon you should be allowed to do it. Like, I feel like I do my shit.
In the Bible it says you should pray secretly.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, like there is something sort of deeply private about it. But I also think, Ricky, that there is a social consequence to I don't necessarily want to say atheism, because I completely agree with your point that there's good and bad, in like beyond those kind of limited taxonomies. But like I do feel like when people think there's no purpose or meaning, that and that needn't necessarily be just because of a belief in God, that it creates cultures that are oddly materialistic, nihilistic. And I feel like in the last 20 years we're seeing more and more worship of self, worship of individual.
Of course, there's a new narcissism, of course, and I don't know why. I think social media is partly to blame. I think people being rewarded for bad behaviour is partly to blame. Magazines or TV or whatever. I did a speech in the Big Brother house as Andy Millman in Extras, and again, that was at the beginning of it, and now it's got worse. But couple of points. I do think there's people crave a oneness, even if we don't go about understanding about why we're here, because again, that's very human. We're inquisitive. We want to know why. We want the answer why, and some people don't accept. We don't know yet, but we're on the way. They go, no. Well, there's no. The God of the gaps. We understand that. Well, if you don't know how to explain it, God did it. Okay, well, it doesn't really solve anything. Even down to the, I put a joke in Afterlife where Kath's bothering me, and she says, where did it all come from? Somewhere from nothing. And I go, well, where did it all come from then? She goes, God made it. I go, okay, where did God come from? She went, he's always been around. I go, simple as that, innit? So, it doesn't answer the question, but I get it. And I think, apart from people wanting there to be some sort of divine justice, because that would be great. Good people would be rewarded and bad people would be punished. Brilliant. Okay, it doesn't work like that. You only have to look at, children in Africa being born with cancer, and we know that's not. We know mysterious ways isn't an explanation. Okay. That to me is someone who doesn't know the answer and says mysterious ways. But apart from that, you're right. We're seeking the answer. Why are we here? I think we think that, hold on, well, it's too good. It's too good to be chance. Everything's perfect. Well, it seems that way. It's like Douglas Adams' puddle. you know, when it imagines this, I fit this hole perfectly. But I think you're right. We are scared and alone, and the idea of death is horrible. What, you'll never exist again? What was the point? And again, I talk about this in Afterlife 1, where I say, Kath's saying that if you think it's, you know, there's no heaven, why don't you kill yourself? And I say, so if you're watching a really good film, but you know it's going to end, you might as well just stop it. She went, no, because I can watch it again. And I say, I think that's the amazing thing about life. You can't watch it again. You know, one day you'll hug, you know, your mum for the last time. You'll smell your last flower. You'll eat your last meal. You won't know it's your last, but it will be your last. And so you've got to make the most of everything. And it is a terrifying prospect. It is like sad that we'll never exist again, I think. But it doesn't mean it's not true. You know, the bottom line is, I can't believe something I don't believe. And so how do I find meaning? Well, we are here. We are here. The chances of us being us, you being you and me being me, existing now, that sperm hitting that egg is 400 trillion to 1. You know, we're not special, but we are lucky. We do exist. It's incredible. And I think of it, it's like a holiday. We don't exist for 13.5 billion years. Then we explode into this mass, this electronic blob of thought, introspection, love, hate, fear, beauty, horror for 80, 90, 100 years if we're lucky. Then we die and we never exist again. We return, our atoms return, and it carries on, right? And that's not scary, because I think people are scared of death because they don't know what's beyond. And someone said to me, well, what do you think it feels like when you die? And I say, like the 13.5 billion years before I was born. And that was all right. So, but the big thing is injecting meaning. I think you're totally right. When you start thinking about it, why are we here? Well, I mean, not even the how, but why? Well, to live your life to the fullest and not hurt anyone, to leave the world in a better place than it was when you came into it, to experience everything, all the reasons, all the obvious reasons, you know, love, wine, dogs, learning, all these great things that you can do every minute of every day that you're alive. And then you check out. You go, I'm done, thanks. And it's done, and it's beautiful. It's fucking beautiful.
It is beautiful. But I was struck when you said that by a few things. One is like the sort of like the injection of meaning, as in, you know, like meaning would have to be imported externally, fabricated somehow, invented. Whereas I think on some level I feel that that meaning is inhered, and that the meaning is in the kind of zeal that you have when you describe the things that give you love, pleasure, you know, connection, whether it's wine or dogs or whatever. I've had like some experiences like through meditation, and when I took drugs too young, and now I'm not allowed to do ayahuasca or LSD or them things that I would definitely be doing if I wasn't in recovery. But I had like these experiences that were a kind of, I would say, a sort of an evaporation of self and yet a continued awareness. I know that my consciousness is connected to my biology, but I have a sense somewhat derived from the fact that, you know, you can't trace how you know, mechanical parts ever become conscious, that consciousness may be elemental somehow. Now that doesn't point to a god in a traditional patriarchal or domineering sense, but it sort of points to an element that's very difficult to quantify, whether that's the deep intelligence of nature, the deep mathematics of biochemistry and biology, and the essential mystery of consciousness itself, you know, commonly referred to as the hard problem. And through these sort of individual experiences, whilst I've not had anything that you would call typically religious, Jesus emerging out of a tunnel, Ganesh lashing around, or any of that sort of stuff, what I've had is like Well, it's highly bloody interpretive, because say there's this one breath thing I do. You breathe from the abdomen very aggressively, and then you sort of take a sharp inhale, and you're nearly, well, a medical man would say what you're doing there is hyperventilating and nearly passing out. But from the inside, what it feels like is bloody hell. For this moment, I'm aware and I am not me. What is this? What is this? Is there a possibility that my awareness, your awareness, the awareness of all animals, and an awareness that's impossible to read is somehow present in all nature, in all matter? And if that's true, then there's a kind of a genuine cohesion and togetherness between all of the beings of the earth and beyond, and those people that can't actually enjoy the lives that we are privileged to have, of the red wine or the dogs or whatever. Like, I'm not saying that's some sort of comfort to them, but in fact those of us that are in privileged position might feel newly incentivized to work towards a different kind of society and system that is more reflective of those values. Now, that doesn't necessarily require monotheism, pantheism, or any of those things, but it is somewhat underwritten by a kind of a sameness and a oneness, and how that might relate to justice. And also, there is a sort of a personal experience of mystery in it. I wonder what you feel about that, and if you're curious about psychedelics and that an altered state.
The point is simple. Fear of death does not prove heaven is real. Science shows the universe is about 13.8 billion years old, and none of us experienced the billions of years before birth. Death can be viewed the same way. No awareness, no pain, no reward, no punishment. Even Ecclesiastes 9:5 says, "The dead know nothing." Christianity asks people to believe without evidence, and Hebrews 11:1 openly defines faith as confidence in what is not seen. That is not proof. That is belief.
I think religion's greatest trick wasn't convincing some people that there was a God who was all-powerful. It was convincing everyone else that you couldn't ridicule that idea. It's when you get them. I think there'd be more atheists and less faithful if you weren't allowed to teach anything, you weren't allowed to mention any gods or any beliefs or atheism, right, until they were 20. I think we'd see a different pattern. The human brain, when it's young, is a sponge. It has to be. It has to take in all the information. It has to trust its parents, its elders, to survive. Without question, don't touch the fire. Why not? Don't go near the wolf. Don't touch that spider with a red bit. Don't touch that. Why not? Just don't. There is a God. What? There is a God. And if you're bad, you go to hell. Okay? And if that's constantly confirmed, like all the other things, wolves eat you, black widows kill you, fires burn you, if it's given that same level of credence and truth, you're never going to get over it. It's going to be a lot harder to undo that. I think the myths came up, maybe, often as a stopgap to knowledge until we find out more. The earth is flat. No, we've proved now. Okay, the earth's not flat. We were wrong. Okay. But that's not personal. You don't take that personally. It doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect your afterlife, And so they often want to hold on to that, right? But only because of the way they've been conditioned. We know it's fun to tell children there's a Santa Claus, and there's fairies at the bottom of the garden, and all these cute things. It's cute till they're 7 or 8. If they're 34, it's a bit embarrassing socially. This is my son. What's he doing? He's looking for fairies. Is he? Okay, we better leave. If you're born in India, you're probably a Hindu. If you're born in America, you're probably a Christian. If you're born in Pakistan, you're probably a Muslim. That's a coincidence, isn't it? That you're always born into the right God. Always. Isn't that lucky? I was born under the right God. All those others are going to hell. But I was born into the right religion. I'm going to heaven. It's strange that we hold on to these sort of medieval beliefs. Where did the universe come from?
God made it, which doesn't solve the problem for me, because we straight away say, well, who made God? And if they say, well, he's always been around, well, let's just say the universe has then. Let's just cut out the middleman. It saves time. We're all born atheist, you know, and then that gets changed or enhanced. I mean, there shouldn't even be a word for atheism. It shouldn't exist. Shouldn't need it. There's not a word for not believing in fairies, you know? And if people didn't keep inventing these weird, impossible deities, we wouldn't have to go around denying them. It's a matter of degrees. If you go around feeling good because whatever life throws at you, it'll all be okay in heaven, that's great. Doesn't affect anyone. Fine. If you pray that you'll do well at work and then you try hard and do well at work and you believe it was the praying, fine. You know, we know it wasn't. We know the praying was irrelevant. We know praying without actually doing anything doesn't do anything. Praying and then working towards something. Praying to me is like making a list. That's all it does. It may even motivate you. It may even, you know, it's getting your thoughts clear. Thinking there's someone hearing you and changing stuff, that's something else. But again, it's still not harmful. But if you start doing crazy stuff because God's telling you to, that affects me. I've got to stop you there. And if someone goes around saying there is a God and bad people go to hell, fine, doesn't affect me. If they go around saying there is a God and bad people go to hell, I'm going to help God send them to hell by stoning them to death. Whoa, he doesn't need your help. He's all powerful. Chill out. God's got this one. I think it's very important you challenge your own beliefs. I mean that's what science does, really. It doesn't constantly try and prove itself right. It follows the evidence, whatever that is. In fact, it tries to prove itself wrong. It doesn't sulk. When science thinks something and then it discovers it was wrong, it doesn't sulk because it found that out too. It's a question I often get, that people say, well, you're an atheist, you know, you're closed-minded. Well, no, I'm not. You know, that's a strange thing to say. I think the opposite is true. I'm going to always follow the evidence, whatever that is. And they say things like, if someone proved to you God existed, would you believe? Well, of course I would, by definition. In fact, it would be the greatest scientific discovery of all time. Scientists would celebrate. They'd run round. At the moment, we have no evidence for the existence of any God or anything supernatural. Never have. Possibly never will, but who knows? We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. When someone puts forward a jar of God, we'll test it for its godliness, and if we find there's anything godly in it, we'll write it down. I get asked questions like, you know, well, what do you think it feels like when you're dead? And I always say, well, what did it feel like for the billions of years before you were born? Like that. And there's also this strange thing that I get from faithful people. Why don't you believe in God? Well, that's a very strange question. Why don't you believe in God? Well, you came up with it. Why would I? As to saying I don't know, well, if you're agnostic about God in all his glory and in all his impossibility, you've got to be the same about Santa. You have got to say, I don't know. I want to say to an agnostic, what's your best guess there? Go on, have a punt. In fact, I don't ask agnostic. I don't say to agnostics, is there a God? I say, do you believe in God? Now, you can't say I don't know to that question, because if you say I don't know, you're an idiot. What you don't know if you believe or not. And I had this discussion with someone on Twitter, actually, and he said, well, that's not true, because I can ask you, am I wearing a red jumper? And you have no way of informing your guess. And that's true. But now ask me if you're wearing a red jumper that created the universe. Now I can have a little guess. No. No, you are not. It's mental. If you throw a load of coins on the floor, no one arrangement is more amazing than another. And it's sort of like they work backwards. Because this is what happened, this is what we think is perfection. So we try and... We can't get around the fact that it's crazy, we've got two eyes. That's exactly where I put them. You know, these are brilliant. This is exactly... If I was making a person, I'd make it just like me. And it's hard not to think there was a will to it. But there wasn't.
You know the Mark Twain quote about, it's so great that I have ears here to hold up these things. We have glasses, and these ears are just perfect for that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And another Mark Twain.
What's particularly good about that? It's a double whammy.
Yeah.
Because he's being sarcastic about evolution and
Right.
But in a strange way, people should take the analogy of the glasses, because we know those glasses were made for ears. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's strange. We know that we did that, and no one would ever go, what a coincidence.
Yeah.
I just found these weird glasses on the floor and they fit my ears. And that's what people can't get around, because they want to do that with everything. They want to do that with, you know.
Yeah.
But wasn't it great when he made bees like pollen? You know, that was a masterstroke. I'd have just had flowers and bees. He went, no, I'm going to make them need each other. Brilliant.
Religion survives because it gets planted early. A child is taught hell before they are old enough to question fear. The Bible even says, train up a child in the way he should go, which shows how belief is passed down before critical thinking is fully formed. The strongest clue is geography. Most people inherit the religion around them. If Christianity were clearly true, belief would not depend so heavily on birthplace. Prayer also fails when tested. In a major heart surgery study, prayer did not improve recovery. Evidence keeps correcting itself. Religion keeps protecting old claims.
Were you ever religious even as a child?
Yeah.
So you were brought up with that.
Yeah.
What was there a thing, an instance where you said, fuck this?
I mean, I think that I liked Jesus more than God, really. I liked him because he was a man.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
I liked him. He was kind, and he was a hero, and he helped the poor, and I sort of, you know, he was great. And the half God thing was fine, but I didn't quite understand it. I thought there was a God, and you got to realise, to a working class mum, Jesus is like an unpaid babysitter. You know, if I can't watch you, Jesus is watching you. So that's the thing. And I thought it was great. And you know, I went to Sunday school, and I was drawing something from the Bible, like for Bible studies. And my brother came in. He was like 11 years older than me, so I was about 8. So he was like 19. And he said, "Why do you believe in God?" And my mum went, "Bob."
Oh no, she
and I
knew.
I knew from that moment.
It was a Santa Claus moment.
Yeah. That she didn't want him to tell me something. Why wouldn't she want me to tell me something? This is the discussion. She's got something to hide. They also thought that in those days, religion sort of mugged morality and goodness, and so you taught that, you know, if you just believed in God, you were a good person. You know, so that's why she was doing it. And then I thought about it for about an hour. Of course.
At that young age.
There's all the different gods, there's all different
But did
religions.
Bob ever tell you?
There's no consistency. Yeah. Nature's consistent. Nature is consistent, you know? And I thought made my own mind up. And I was an atheist from about 8 years old.
But did Bob ever tell you what he was going to tell you?
No, he just that's all he had to do.
Wow,
That's all he had
I would love
do.
to know what it was, though.
Yeah, well, he was going to say, why do you believe... All he was saying was, why do you believe... He wanted me to think for myself.
Gotcha.
And she didn't want me to.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I worked it out. I just worked it out from...
Did you feel bad? Did you feel abandoned? Did you feel anything?
No, I felt liberated. I thought, this is amazing.
Really?
I thought, this is amazing. This is incredible.
And then I had one lapse. I remember, and I was staunch atheist, and I loved the world, and I thought this is amazing. Everything makes sense now. Everything makes sense now. If you don't have to, all these conflicts and all these contradictions and all the different gods and all the different heavens and all the weird beliefs and nature is consistent everywhere you go. It doesn't matter where you were born, who your parents were. Nature and physics and maths are consistent the world over and will be forever and ever. Okay, but I was studying for an exam when I was about 15, and there's this flower, right, that's got a little lever that when the bee comes and lands on it, the stamen comes down and touches a bit of pollen on the bee, then goes to another flower and the female comes down, and I understood evolution, and I had a crisis and I locked myself in my bedroom. And I was going, oh my God, how can that? And I just calmed down and I worked out. I go, okay, yeah, of course, natural selection. And I worked through it again, and I came out and I was fine. But I think that's what some people have. They think they can't. Everything's too perfect because they can't understand. They give evolution a will. They give natural selection a will, like that was aiming at something.
So you were looking at that and thinking, well, this has to be some kind of divine intervention.
Yeah, because it shocked me. It caught me unawares, and I think I was stressed. And
what are the odds that this is going to work like this without some kind of...
And because it works, it works when you like everything else. It took a billion years.
Yeah.
And slowly, it just happened.
You also got to think of all the things that don't work that we don't see because they're not there. Because they didn't work.
99% of all animal species that ever existed are now extinct.
Right.
So this 5 million plus species, including some insects we don't even know there, that is 1%. That is 1%.
Like the rabbit on crutches never made it. That was one that just didn't quite survive a while.
The goopy machine that we are is an odd thing when you really start getting into vision and and the amazing quickness we have to respond to things physically.
We're just to move.
We're
an evolved machine.
3.5
billion years of slight changes that were favoured, or we passed 1982.
But you also look at things like, okay, our eyes work in concert with the sun. Like, how the frig does that work? The light from the sun, and then you start thinking of divine intervention instead of the evolution of the whole.
Of course, but it's what here is what works. It's
yes, because
that Douglas
it works.
Adams thing. He does this thing where some water, a puddle, starts thinking, I fit this hole perfectly.
Okay.
It must have been made for me.
Right.
And that's how it feels like. Our illusion of free will feels like everything was built for us, everything's perfect, everything works. Mm-hmm. Well, of course it does, because it wouldn't be around if it didn't.
Because if it didn't work,
But it's also a hard thing for me to, like, and I believed growing up, and it's like, I've gotten farther and farther away from believing. It's really difficult to believe anymore. Like, the more you read and learn, and it's just like hard to buy the... But the idea that I struggle with is ceasing to exist. That's what bothers me.
But why? But you didn't exist for 14 billion years.
Right.
What did it feel like?
It was boring. Like, I just wanted to get in the game.
Yeah. Get in the game. We have this illusion for free will, for consciousness for 100 years, and then we're gone, and our atoms are spread out again.
But it's almost like once you taste it, like I know I won't even know that it's not there.
Of course.
But it's just...
No, that's usual. Of course we do. We love this. We love life. It's amazing. We're thinking. We're doing stuff.
But how do you handle that? How do you handle your own death?
You live your life every single day as much as you can, but when you say handle your own death, what choice do you have? It's not like you go, you want to live forever? Okay, anyone who wants to live forever on the left, anyone who doesn't, you haven't got a choice anyway, so you've got to live with it. And I just think I'm worried about dying. I don't want to die in agony or lonely or
anytime
hung
soon.
for stealing a lamb. You know what I mean? But I think that, pack it all in and then there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Just, hopefully when I'm, in agony and there's nothing I can do, there'll be a pill I can get from, CVS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how scared?
That way.
How scared are you of it?
I don't think about it much, but if I wake up and I find a lump, I think that's it.
Right.
I've blown it. I've got 6 months.
Remember when you first Jeez. Remember when you first realized you were going to die someday?
Jeez.
That feeling you had, though?
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Well, it was funny because
That was brutal.
I remember my first taste of it. It might have been after I was an atheist. I said to my mum, when you die, will I care?
Huh.
And I was throwing myself forward to, and she went, yeah, you'll care, but you'll be old enough to cope with it and go your own way. And that's what I was worried about. That's what we're worried about. We see our own mortality. We think, oh God, I'm going to lose their friend, then it's going to happen to me.
Well, isn't that where the religion comes in, really?
I think so, yeah.
Isn't
You want to see your family and pets again.
Right,
in
that's
this,
the big...
In this heaven where, but when you break it down, what is it? Who is this? And there's this really strange... If I had one thing to leave society, it would... Everyone on earth would have to be taught the burden of proof. They'd have to understand what the burden of proof is, because that's the argument I have with, on Twitter. They say things like, prove there isn't a God. Well, no, prove there isn't a unicorn. You can't prove the non-existence of something, and why would you? It's mental.
Right.
You don't need to. And there's other myth that what an atheist is. An atheist simply is someone who doesn't believe in a God.
Yeah.
It's not saying there isn't a God. You can go further, So most of us are agnostic atheists. So when they say, you don't know. No, we don't know, but we don't know Superman doesn't exist either. So let's ignore all that.
Right.
And also, they're not mutually exclusive, because one deals in knowledge and one deals in belief. So none of us know, so we're all agnostic, right? And some of us choose to therefore not believe in a God, because we don't know, atheist.
Yeah.
And some of us choose to believe in a God despite having no evidence. That's the only difference. So we're all agnostic, so it just doesn't count. It's not interesting. It's about what you know.
I think it's there to answer all the mysteries, and without even a real answer.
Yeah.
It's there to give comfort to people, especially early on in civilization, when
I
you
agree.
really didn't have an understanding of things.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, what happens? Oh, I'm not going to see that person ever again. No, you know what? There's a God, there's a heaven, it's going to be
great. Do you know what? I'm guilty of it myself. When my mum was dying, and she was dying for quite a while, she had lung cancer, 6 months, I knew that if she said, do you think there's a God? I'd have said, I don't know, but yeah, probably.
Right.
I couldn't sit down
for comfort
and that at that stage, and tell her what because there's no good. And I think that's how I think spirituality certainly started probably well. It started out well. It started comfort or not knowing. Religion's somewhat different. Religion is purely a power struggle. Do
you have a spirituality about yourself?
Yeah, only that I'm in awe. I don't need a God to be in awe of a mountain, or in awe of that flower, or in awe of this illusion of free will, or how amazing life is.
Do you think being good has any payoff in life?
Yes, it does.
And what is?
It's that I want people to treat me as I treat them, and it has its own rewards. Being kind and nice to people is rewarding. It's a lovely feeling. It's a lovely feeling to help someone, or be kind, or make someone smile, or make someone feel better. Do you know what I mean? Or heal someone. It's a brilliant feeling. You don't need to think that you'll be rewarded in heaven. Mm-hmm. You're rewarded now. And if you think that you're sent to hell if you're bad, and you're sent to heaven if you're good, if that's your reason for being good, you're not good. You're Pavlov's dog.
It's a very selfish.
I don't think there's a heaven, and I don't think there's a hell. But you know what? Be nice anyway.
Why would you spend 75, 80 some odd years sacrificing what you have here?
Yeah.
All that wonder and stuff here for some maybe payoff based on nothing but faith and this weird belief. Of course.
This is guaranteed. We know this is here. Right. Let's make the most of this. Then it doesn't matter.
But you're
because
supposed
you won't
to
know.
Sacrifice the mortal pleasures in order to
because
show that
some
you're
weird
faithful.
guy a few thousand years ago said so.
Right.
Some little weird desert dweller who hated gays, women, right, and wanted power and was angry because he lived in the desert and could only beat himself stupid every night. wanted to make everyone pay.
Right.
And he wanted a piece of it, you know. It's so obvious the Bible's written by men seizing power.
Yes.
It's like, it's ludicrous. I mean,
it really
seems
laughable. A waste to just use all this time.
I know. There's a great lyric. There's a great, my favourite band at the moment is Sun Kill Moon. And there's a lyric where he ponders, do you think there's an afterlife? Probably not. And then, and he's saying to this person who's worried about living the life without, he said, you wasted life, why wouldn't you waste death? It's like, if you waste this one, you'll waste
then you'll waste the next one.
What do you do when you're up there? What are the rules of heaven? What can we do? Wow. You can have sex. You can have sex in churches in heaven because it's whatever you want to do. So you can go and have sex in churches in heaven.
You know what though? You'd be told that, but you wouldn't want to.
You wouldn't want to.
Right.
That's it.
There was always a thing. My parents would tell me things like that, like, oh, it's like, what's heaven? What is? It's anything you want. You get anything. And as a child, all I'm thinking is like
exist?
Christmas.
No.
You no, it's all right. Goddamn paradox. Yeah. It was always based on something like Christmas or this is going to be great. I could have anything I want. So what, toys?
Candy. It's funny, isn't it? There's no consistency. Everyone's no consistency. Some people don't get into heaven. Wrong religions don't get into heaven. And you're the wrong religion. You could be, it's odd, isn't it?
And then, my grandma was there to greet me when I went to heaven. Did she want to be 80 years old in heaven? So when I greeted her, she would be my grandma? Or did she want to be like she was in her 20s and having fun? Like,
an atheist can't get into heaven, right? But someone who murders someone and then says sorry on his deathbed can be.
It's a little loophole there.
Some
of the tax laws.
It's full of murderers who said sorry. It's just
right at the
and their victims who didn't do anything wrong. No, so hold on. So if you murder an atheist, he goes to hell. He'll have to say sorry, and you go to heaven.
Yeah, that's the way it works out.
That's not right, is it?
And all the other people you killed are forced to interact with you in heaven. Hey, I said I was sorry. You still have a fucking axe wound in your head.
What are you doing here? I said sorry.
Christianity's moral system collapses when you look at it closely. It says a kind atheist can be rejected, while a violent person can repent at the end and be saved. Luke 23 shows a criminal promised paradise right before death. That is not justice. That is belief-based favoritism. Real morality does not need heaven as a bribe or hell as a threat. Humans can understand harm, fairness, empathy, and cooperation without pretending a reward system is waiting after death. The burden of proof is on religion. Until it provides evidence, it has no right to demand belief.
Some people would say that the scientific view is rather bleak and cold. Here we are on a cloud on a bit of dust, really orbiting the sun, and it's all going to go. It's all going to be destroyed one day. Do you find it bleak?
There's no God-fearing person of any religion who feels as much awe as me when I see a mountain or a tree
or the stars
or anything in science and nature and art. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. The fact that this is a miraculous mistake, and
you and I are privileged to be here to enjoy it, even if for a short time. That's a wonderful thought.
Yeah, it's good that we were born after they discovered fossils of dinosaurs, isn't it?
Good that we were born at all, but yes.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah. What would that have been like?
Nothing.
What would you be like if you were pre-Darwin?
I would probably believe in God if I were pre-Darwin.
Well, this is the other thing that sometimes I say to Christians, why do you believe in that God? And they say, well, it's the only God to believe in. I went, but if you were born in Delhi, you wouldn't believe in that God, probably. If you were born in ancient Rome, you certainly wouldn't believe in that God. But it is a thing there that they.
Yes, you believe in the God of your parents and your grandparents. Most people do.
I think so, yeah. I mean, you know, there's conversions, and there are many people that seek one. I don't know, they window shop. They go, what can you do for me? What do I have to do? Forget it. What do you do? I can still smoke and drink? I'll have that one. You know, of course, yeah.
There are people who say, well, I was on a quest and I tried Buddhism and it was all right, but I thought maybe I'd try again, so I tried Hinduism.
I know, yeah. Well, which one spoke to you?
Yes.
Yeah, I know. And, it should be irrelevant, but it isn't, because it does infringe on people's liberties. Certainly religion, not spirituality. You know, someone believing in God, that's fine.
Harmless.
Absolutely, doesn't bother me at all. Religion isn't harmless. It's when your God starts telling you that you should kill homosexuals, and
exactly.
That's when it's not harmless anymore.
I was interested, you said that you really objected to people being bored. You should never be bored, and I think that's right. The world is a wonderful enough place. You should never be bored. If you're bored, you're doing something wrong.
Well, you're probably ignorant in some way. I don't mean in a nasty way, but you know, you haven't seen the possibilities. No one's pointing them out to you. You know, you know, opportunity. That's very important. The place you're born. There's some places people are born into poverty with less opportunity and less things to do and see. I mean, if you're being shot at, or your firstborn has a 1 in 4 chance of not surviving the first year, you're probably not thinking of taking up macrame. So, you know, the privilege is luck to a certain extent. But then it's what you do with it. I mean, again, that's politics. You know, I consider myself privileged, certainly.
Yes, it's a lot easier to enjoy life if you are privileged in that sort of way.
Of course, yeah. You know.
There are some people who say that to explain existence, to explain life, to explain that we are, as they would put it rather demeaningly, a bundle of chemicals, somehow makes life not worth living.
Why?
Why indeed?
I don't understand it.
No.
I mean,
it's wonderful even if you can explain it. It's even more wonderful if you can explain it.
There's a magic there. There's a magic to consciousness, introspection, free will.
And the fact that you can say that it's done by nerve impulses speeding around the brain doesn't diminish it in any way.
No, of course
It's still
not.
wonderful.
Of course not.
Actually, I think it's more wonderful.
I think it is, because it's amazing.
Yes.
I mean, magic does it for you. Magic goes, it's magic. You know.
It's amazing that this conscious being, this thinking being that is me, and that thinking being that is you, is actually produced by millions of nerve impulses whizzing around inside our brain. I mean, that is a magical thought.
It's great, isn't it? We're in each other's dream.
Yes.
And even if free will is an illusion, it makes no difference. It makes no difference to us.
I feel as though I have free will, even if I don't.
Of course. And you know, I'd say determinism is sound, but it's when they start making these leaps that then we can't be responsible for our own actions. Well, you've still got to lock someone up if they're going around murdering people to protect the innocent.
Yes. It wasn't me did the murder, my lad, it was my neurons.
Of course,
my genes.
yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah. Well, there's obviously a little bit of that creeping into everything, responsibility, you know, being adult about things. But yeah, it doesn't change a thing. I feel that I make my own choices, and if I don't, I certainly feel like I'm choosing. So yeah, it's not even worth worrying about. But yeah, it's this thing that takes the art out of something, or the humanity, or the beauty. Why? Why does it? It's strange. And the way they think it's all too good, it's all too perfect. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Why?
Yes.
Why? That you haven't seen the process, you know. There's a wonderful thing about Douglas Adams that goes against the intelligent design theory. It's a puddle.
Oh, the puddle, yes.
It's great, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, you tell the story. I mean,
Well, it's just that a puddle is pondering, and it says, I must have been designed because I fit this hole perfectly.
Yes.
Which is just beautiful. What a beautiful metaphor.
Yes.
For trying to explain evolution and everything. I also, it's funny as well because they move the goalposts. You cannot win an argument with someone who believes in God. Certainly, who believes in an interventionist God. It's impossible. Well, you've won in the sense that you've tried your best and you think you're right, and they're deluded, but they go away, just as strong. I mean, their best argument, ironically, is that it's just faith.
Pretty pathetic, really, isn't it?
Well, it is pathetic, but they mustn't ever engage in logic. It's like top trumps. They mustn't pick logic on their cards. They've got to go faith 100%, and then you go, yeah, sorry, you win. That's the only way they're going to win this top trumps. They've got to keep away. Some embrace science. Some say God started the Big Bang. He invented the Big Bang, and he let it all happen. It was programmed, but now he's not an interventionist God. I say, well, so you believe in evolution? Yeah, but he did all that. Fine. But then he gave man free will. So then it's not his fault anymore. It's like there's evil, there's bad. He had to go with the flood, but he thought, I've tried once. Let him get on with it. I'm like, no. I'll be in the study, forget it. And then I say, well, why do you pray then? Because it makes me feel good. So they sort of know. I think they sort of know, but they don't want to know. Because I think I did a film called The Invention of Lying, where it was a world where, an alternative universe where we'd evolved and no one could tell a lie. And I play a guy who comes along and he can lie for the first time. And his mum's dying and she's worried about entering a void of nothingness. And I realise I can lie. And I say, no, you're going to a place where you'll be young again and you'll run and jump and everyone gets a mansion. And it's overheard and it spreads and I've invented religion. Now, I sort of think that did play a big part in religion. What's the point? I've seen people die, but they're looking down on me. They're still around. That's human in a way. That's, we don't want to think we're alone and we never see our loved ones again. Some you'd avoid. Pets aren't allowed. I know people that stopped believing in God because pets weren't allowed in heaven. Yeah. Well, what's up with the dog? No soul. So it's a minefield, really, for them. And agnostics annoy me more.
Oh yeah?
Oh, this new trendy little linguistic piece of logic that since neither can know, you've got to be agnostic. Well, okay, that's fair enough, but do you, follow the same rules with fairies and Santa? No, you don't. Would you tell your kid that we don't know if Santa exists or not? No, you wouldn't, And which God don't you know exists? Which one? Which one don't you know about?
Thor.
Exactly,
Apollo.
yeah. Well, I think, yeah. Well, that's the other thing as well. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in about 2,700 gods. Christians don't believe in 2,699.
Yes.
So they're nearly as atheistic as me.
Yes. That's right.
As a percentage, they're right up there.
Yes.
They're very nearly an atheist.
What if they said, well, I don't care which God it is, but I believe there's something unknowable, something...
Well, some people do, and that just means I don't know, I'm not sure. Which, is fair enough. There's a start. I don't think you can... I wouldn't be smug with that sort of thing, because maybe they've never thought about it, or
well, I would agree with
they
that.
don't understand.
I think the mistake comes in when you say, because I don't know, therefore the likelihood is 50-50, because
well, of course,
that doesn't have to be 50-50.
There's lots we don't know,
Yeah.
but we don't jump to conclusions.
That's
we
right.
don't know everything about the brain, but that's not to say that everything about the brain is unknowable.
We rejoice in not knowing, not because we don't want to know, but because we've got something to work on.
Absolutely. That's why people do puzzles. It comes back to hobbies. You do a puzzle because you don't know the answer yet.
And scientists are doing puzzles trying to find out the answers to the nature of reality.
Absolutely. Of course, that's all we're doing. Science just tries to understand the world a bit more for its own ends.
And it's a wonderful process.
It's fantastic.
Worth living for.
Because it should enhance mankind.
Yeah.
You know, this ridiculous thing about science coming up with the atomic bomb. I don't know what argument that is. No. That's evil. Well, no. This other one as well. How many times have you heard someone say, some idiot fundamentalist say, well, Hitler was atheist?
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, it makes no difference.
Yeah.
There are good and bad atheists.
Yes.
There are good and bad people who believe in God.
Yeah.
But very few atheists kill in the name of atheism.
Exactly.
It's an irrelevance to me. I hate being labelled an atheist because it's not how I live my life. I don't live my life going around going, I'm an atheist, I'm an atheist.
No, exactly.
There's billions of other aspects to my life, why I do things. It just, when God's brought into the equation, I don't take that on board. I don't do anything because of God's watching me, or because I feel God owns anything, or God's driving me. It's a strange word and it's a strange label.
It is. Hitler actually wasn't an atheist.
No, I know, he was a Catholic, wasn't he?
Yes. Stalin probably was an atheist, but neither of them did their good things or their bad things. Not they didn't.
Of course not.
Neither of them did their bad things because they believed or because they didn't believe in God.
No, of course not. It was irrelevant. I remember. I thought, what were you on? Were you on a show in America when someone said, "Well, Stalin and Hitler were both atheists," and I think you said, "Well, they both had moustaches as well."
Yes.
It's just as relevant. A totally irrelevant statistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, they're clutching at straws.
Yes.
They're clutching at straws. They don't like atheists. No. I mean, we're at the top of the tree. We're white, middle-aged, Western men, but we blew it because we're atheists. So we're the most hated, oppressed people on the planet. You can't run for president if you're an atheist.
Well, you can, but you won't get in.
Oh, well, right, fine. Yeah. That's cut. That's wrong.
So we don't need God to be good.
We don't need God to be good, and even if we did, we haven't got him.
Quite right.
So there's
what
no
matters
point.
Is what's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't choose to live, but I love it.
Me too. Thank you very, very much.
My pleasure. Cheers.
Religion loves to say science makes life empty. That is weak. Science gives us fossils, medicine, space images, brain research, and evolution. It explains more without needing invisible spirits. Christianity calls that cold because facts threaten the story. The Bible even contains laws like Leviticus 20:13, where same-sex acts are punished by death. That is not divine wisdom. That is ancient cruelty dressed up as holiness. When religion cannot win with evidence, it hides behind faith. Faith is not a higher truth. Faith with a religious answer forced on top. Science admits what it does not know, then tests, corrects, and improves. That is why science can be rebuilt from evidence. Gravity, medicine, fossils, and the Big Bang model do not need faith to work. Christianity is different. If every Bible disappeared, the same verses would not magically return. Human authors wrote them. Faith protects the claim because proof is missing. So what do you think? Is faith a good reason to believe something, or should belief require evidence? Comment your answer below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.